So composting is Mother Nature's way of recycling. Everything decomposes, and when we compost, specifically in the garden, we're recycling things you would normally put in a landfill that you can then put in a pile, and it all breaks down and it becomes a very good source of many good things for your garden soil. So compost is beneficial in many ways. It's beneficial in that we recycle things that we would normally fill our landfills up or garbage cans with. We can actually use those to create something that's good for the garden, which is this wonderful rich compost. All the things that you throw in a fertilizer, you can get in a more slow burning nutritional source of the compost. Compost is good for the garden because it evens out the temperature of the garden, so it protects the plants from cold and from heat. Compost improves the ability of the soil to retain water, so you can improve clay soils and sandy soils both. I love composting because I get to play in the dirt and I get to see the actual decomposition occur. It can occur pretty quickly, and I think it's a great way to get kids interested in the garden itself. So the components of a good compost pile are 4 main elements. There's carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and water. Carbon and nitrogen are going to come from the actual products you put into the compost pile. For the backyard composter, that is easier to think of as 1 or 2, I've read both, but I usually do 2 parts brown or carbon to 1 part nitrogen, and which is considered the green component. Turn the compost pile, you're giving it more air, and then when you water your compost pile, you're giving it enough water for the decomposition to occur. You want your compost pile to be about as wet as a damp sponge. So if you could kind of imagine you squeezed out a sponge and it has about that much water in it, that's as much water as you need. So in the summer you have to water your compost fairly frequently. In the winter, not as much. So there are a couple of different ideas behind composting, and as many people as there are, there's that many ideas about composting. So you're going to hear the gamut and you kind of figure out what works for you. You could make a compost pile, leave it alone for a year, and you will have compost. Never turn it, never water it. Decomposition is going to happen. So it just depends how much energy, how much time you want to put into it. You can buy tumblers of various sizes to use in your home. Not in your home, probably outside your home, and fill that up and turn it every day. And the benefit to that is that you can turn them easily, and it's a nice way to do it when you have small amounts. The alluvial community garden, we have a 3-bin system. The first bin is where people put their kitchen waste and their fresh waste out of the garden, all their carbon, all their nitrogen, and it just kind of, this pile just keeps getting made and getting turned periodically, but your first pile is going to be the beginnings. And then over here we would turn that into the middle pile. This is sort of the middle of decomposition, and when it's ready to be screened, we usually pull out a screen and a wheelbarrow and we just screen it, and that'll pull out all the big stuff, and the finished product is stored in this 3rd bin, and then the gardeners come over and get their compost out of here. So there is also composting called vermicomposting, which is using earthworms.
They eat pumpkin, squash, bananas, soft foods, sweet foods. Occasionally you can feed them coffee grounds or eggshells, but never feed them spicy, acidic, bitter, oily, or salty foods. The more you feed the worms, the longer it'll take to get the finished product. The less you feed the worms, the less time it will take to get the finished product. One of the hundreds of them that are in here. Eggshells, paper towels, everything that's on that list. Carrots.
Eddie, thanks so much. We're very excited.
With the mesh bin here, it's just the fencing rolled up, tied together, and I do a lasagna layering. It's called lasagna composting. So you do a layer of carbon, a layer of nitrogen, and water. Layer of carbon, nitrogen, water. And then if you can turn it every 1 to 2 days, you can get compost in about 2 to 3 weeks. So getting started on your own compost pile at home is really simple. First, decide how intense you want this process to be. If you want to go out and invest in a tumbler, that's great. If you just want to start a pile, you can just buy some wire mesh, at least 3 feet around, and just start building your pile. Start saving everything out of your kitchen that is not cooked in oil or a meat product, but just start piling it up. When you've got a 3 by 3 by 3 size pile, stop adding to it and start another one. Let that one cook. It's very important, or else you're just going to start the process all over again. It's very simple and very rewarding. I love it.